After discovering anime and fandoms like Genshin Impact with beautiful characters back in 2021, I felt really motivated to draw illustrations like these amazing artists I had seen on Instagram and YouTube, but when it came to actually drawing back then, I definitely wasn't at a similar level. I also didn't have a clue of how I could get to that level. There were many things I learned through putting in many hours. While in art there is not one way you can get super good, super fast, there still are a few things that can make the process of learning art a lot easier and faster. Today's video will be all about that. I share the advice I would give myself if I was starting to learn art, things that would have helped me a lot. I hope this video can be a helpful guide to you, even if you're more experienced. I also share some things I only discovered recently, so you should be able to take some things from this as well. So whether you're just starting out with drawing anime art or looking to refine your skills, this video is for you. One of the biggest questions I had when I started drawing was, how do I learn art in the most effective way? Answering this question early on can save you a lot of time and help you progress faster and more easily. To answer this question, let's start with the first step I would take. Step 1 is to determine your first goal. Ask yourself, what do I want to draw? This could be anime characters, backgrounds, animals, humans, or any combination of these. Maybe you already have some favorite artists and styles that inspire you. Use these as a starting point. Once you've set your goal, start with some basic exercises. Draw simple forms like boxes in perspective and practice drawing from references. Incorporate references that align with your goals, but also use real-life references. Focus on simpler references to avoid overwhelming yourself with details. Next, let's talk about the fundamentals. These are the basic building blocks of art like perspective, anatomy, composition, and color theory. Understanding these will significantly improve your art. Two methods to study these are 1. Drawing from references. You can use both real-life images and other artists' work. 2. Using tutorials. Here you can follow along with YouTube videos or other tutorial platforms. Getting feedback is very important. There are some Discord servers you could join where you can ask for feedback. Just be sure to give and take, meaning you also give feedback to others yourself. It's best to receive feedback from someone who has a lot of experience, of course, so if you have the opportunity for this, use it. If professional feedback isn't accessible, become your own critic by comparing your work to your references and noting the differences. Over time, your eye for detail will improve. Regardless of your experience level, there's always room for improvement. Here's a method you can use repeatedly to enhance your skills. 1. Determine a specific goal. Be as precise as possible. For instance, decide to learn how to draw skirts or how to shade hair. 2. Identify the steps needed. Figure out what you need to learn to achieve your goal. 3. Gather resources. Collect references and tutorials related to your goal. 4. Study and practice. Dive into the resources and practice what you learn. 5. Compare and adjust. Continuously compare your work to your references and make adjustments until you're satisfied. Over time, your observation skills will improve, creating a gap between your current skills and your new goals. This is natural and signals your ongoing growth as an artist. Like this, you can continuously find some new things you would like to improve on. For example, if you're focusing on anatomy, start with gesture drawings to capture the essence of the human form. If it's perspective, practice drawing various objects in different perspectives. Use repetition to reinforce these skills. Repeating exercises over days or weeks helps solidify your understanding. To effectively study art, you need a solid plan. Here's a rough guide to follow over the course of 1 year, dedicating 2-3 hours a day to active studying. This guide isn't strict, it's just similar to what I experienced worked well for me. Adjust the guide based on your learning style and pace. If you prefer more structured plans, consider following tutorials from artists like Marc Brunet, who offers a comprehensive art school program. Here are some resources and tools to help you on your journey. For references, you can use sites like Pinterest or Google Images. For tutorials, YouTube is a great source. Channels like Proco, Cynix Design, and Marc Brunet are excellent. Software and tool-wise, Photoshop, Clip Studio Paint, and Procreate are popular among digital artists. Or you could use free options such as Krita, which is what I use myself. Here I would also add 2 important concepts. Keeping these in mind helps me a lot. First, we have observation and hand-eye coordination, which are essential for accuracy in drawing. Next, we'd have drawing before coloring. I find focusing on proportions and line work before diving into colors helpful. If you want to focus more on shapes and backgrounds, for example, you could also go with this approach and refine the blocked in and painted in colors, focusing more on the lighting and shading rather than line work at first. An alternative, if you prefer to focus on lighting and shading but want to use line art as well, would be getting pre-drawn line art or drawing bases from artists or sites who make it clear that they are okay with you using it. Like this, you can focus more on practicing coloring and shading first. Just don't post this as your own work. Now let's talk about today's illustration, where I drew Wanderer from Genshin Impact. Actually, this first was a different character who would be Julian, a Dokomi mascot. Speaking of Dokomi, it's an anime convention in Europe, and this year I'll actually have a table there which I'm looking forward to. If any of you watching are going there as well or you've heard of it, let me know in the comments. I drew the illustration here to participate in a challenge Nifta and Dokomi were hosting. Because of this, you'll also see that first the color space I used was CMYK. It was the first time drawing with a color space like this for me, and I wasn't able to use blending modes like multiply for shading here, which was challenging but interesting as well. All the colors looked a bit more greenish and kinda less vibrant to me while drawing. I drew the illustration with the option to replace the character with a Genshin Impact one if I wouldn't win by redrawing the head, and that's why you'll first see me draw this other character, and in the end I'll change it up to Wanderer. When I do this, I also change the color space back to RGB, and I use way more purple colors. It was kinda nice to have this illustration drawn and then come back to it to make the changes. I determined the colors looked boring to me in the first version and, like I said, very greenish, and when painting over and adjusting I was able to change all of this. To wrap up, I want to share a bit about my own experience with studying art. I've been seriously studying art for about 2 years. Before that, I didn't focus much on improvement. I just drew whatever I felt like drawing for fun. I hope this shows you that you can achieve a solid foundation relatively quickly if you are dedicated. If you would like to see some of my full screen recorded processes and full illustration files, feel free to check out my Patreon. And that's it. Hopefully this guide helps you to start or continue your art journey more effectively. Remember, learning art is a personal experience, and finding what works best for you is key. Let me know in the comments what kind of study methods you prefer and any tips you found helpful. Again, thank you for watching, have a nice day, and bye.